Hi everyone, Jared here. Time for the market video update. We've had it's been a bit of a quiet morning and day. The market hasn't moved a whole bunch, but there are some good setups and there's some good reasons why things are kind of flat. Quickly, let's just look at how the U.S. equities fared today. Nothing too exciting, just about 26 points down after almost a 500-point positive close yesterday in the Dow and over 40 points, almost 50 points positive in the S&P. Everything kind of was flat slash a little tiny bit down today. Nothing too exciting. We had a little bit of news this morning. We had the ISM, which came out a little bit better than expected. But of course, coming into tomorrow, that's where the big news pops up. We've got retail sales out of Swiss franc, out of Switzerland there, a little bit of UK action. Then we have the employment numbers for Canada and the US, and these are definitely the big numbers for both countries. So there's going to be some big action for Canada, and that's bright and early, and then some big action for the US as well, followed quickly thereafter. So there should be a lot of good movement and a lot of things happening there. But today there wasn't really too much. Today and last night we did see a little bit of activity here on the euro, but for the most part just kind of chopped around, didn't really do much. The pound did kind of the same thing, just kind of chopped around, not doing too much. And so I think a lot of this is in preparation for some of that bigger movement that could potentially come partly in the UK session, but mostly in the US session tomorrow morning. So we're going to kind of keep our eyes on that, see how that goes. As far as the euro goes, there's not really much of a trading opportunity right now. This is kind of a wait and see a little bit because, namely because if we look at the euro dollar on the daily chart, we just kind of go from this high to low. The euro has bounced off this double bottom pretty nicely, and it looks like it's ready to kind of make a continuation into some of this retracement. Now we know that when the 23% retracement level breaks, it's very likely for the market to continue on into that 38. So the 23 breaks, 38's very likely to get hit. So we see right here that the euro bounced on this double bottom, and it's working its way up, and it's kind of stuck at this 23 right now. And I think it's going to have a pretty decent time breaking this and continuing up. But I think that it'll get there. I think this euro is going to make it up into that 38. That's going to put us right at that first daily fib on the other side, and at this 38 fib retracement. So pretty good little levels, pretty good things to watch for. But as you can see, there's that 23 right there, and the market has, for a couple of days now, just been really stuck right there and not been doing anything at all. So until that breaks, there's possible long-term probability of getting into a trade and just holding on to it for about 100 pips. But again, with the non-farm numbers coming, I just don't know that we're going to have much to get into before tomorrow morning. The pound is doing a very similar thing as that. The pound has double bottomed, big double bottom right here. We talked about this big trend line yesterday. This is on the weekly chart, remember, and the pound broke out, retraced back up to the trend line, and it's right back to that kind of pivoting point right there, and I'm fully planning on that breaking. I think that's a definite. It's just when is that going to happen exactly? And so it's the pound has kind of run back up into this 38-ish area as well, touched the 50 a couple of times, and it's just kind of stuck at this 38% retracement and the daily gap. So the pound just about touched that first fib on the other side. It touched that 50. These are all kind of good turnaround points, and I think we might end up with some longer term run down potential. But again, with non-farm payroll coming out, anything could happen, and so I don't think we'll be able to get into too much before that. But I think that this pound is ultimately going to start working its way down. It's kind of double topped right here, and I think it's ready to start heading down, but in a very long-term kind of method. And so stop losses need to be, probably 100 pips away at least, and I think there's some good potential for this to start heading down. But probably the safe bet is to get a 1 hour crossover to kind of confirm some of that movement, and ultimately I'd like to see a break of this trend line, which I think could be not very far off. So euro and pound both kind of double bottoming, both retraced back up into kind of the 23s and the 38s and 50s and so on, and should start to bounce and continue down. I think there's a small chance of a little tiny bit of upside here to maybe kind of test these highs once again, but I think the ultimate direction is heading down and breaking these trend lines. But again, we're kind of stuck. We're in a little bit of a rock and a hard spot here because we've got some decent setups, but we've also got big news coming out tomorrow, and so there's not a ton we can do before then. As always, the euro yen is looking kind of crazy. The euro yen and pound yen pairs are not my favorite, But the thing to look at, and by not my favorite, I mean just kind of right now, because they've just been so darn choppy. But right now, what I like and what I've been mentioning quite a bit is this 104.35. 104.35 on the euro yen really held nicely, and it's kind of confirmed that break pretty well. This is at 104.35, came up above, big retracement back down, up above again, smaller retracement back down, and now it's completely above the level and really kind of completely cleared this. So I think the euro yen is going to be a decent possible run into some of these higher levels. So again, there's some long-term potential on the euro yen with stops below this 104.35, which is not so bad. 30 to 40 pip stops, and that should give this pair enough room to kind of wiggle and hopefully make its way up into some of those higher areas. Pound yen, same kind of thing. Pound yen's kind of been stuck here, and it was having a hard time at this level back here, which is about the 12200, and it's back up above that now. So same kind of thing. You can see the daily charts and so on. It's kind of stuck in that daily gap, and just back to that daily chart for a second. It's stuck at the 38 as well. It hasn't been able to reach that 50% retracement on the upside. You can see the 38 right there, just really hanging on to the market. So if we can get back above some of this, I think we're going to be good. Again, I think there's some medium-term, runs. Let the put a buy on and just kind of let it sit, and hopefully work its way up there with stops. It doesn't need very large stops, just below this kind of breakout area, maybe about a 50 pip stop or so, with probably around 100 pip potential returns on that one. So that's kind of what I'm looking at on this pound yen. And the Aussie has just kind of gone flat on us. I've talked a little bit about the Aussie lately, and it's still got to fill this gap. We've got this big gap from the open Sunday night, and we had that big spike there on the Aussie as well. And, it hasn't really done too much this week. None of the pairs have done too much this week besides these spikes where the coordinated intervention happened, and then they've just kind of gone flat. So still looking for a sell on the rally of the Aussie. So I'm looking for a short position. I'll let you guys know in the next day or so how that goes. And gold has kind of continued to consolidate, so we're just going to keep our eye on that and see where that goes over the next little while. But gold's been a little bit uneventful the last 24, 48 hours as well. Had a spike there, and then it's just really been flat. So the markets are waiting for non-farm numbers to come out, and they're just kind of waiting for some of the smoke to clear. There's so many extenuating circumstances happening in all the governments and all the economies, and it's really making trading kind of tricky. So there's a few things to look at, but we'll get there, and we'll find some nice movements. But the focus now is just kind of some longer-term runs, looking for 100 pip runs, small lot sizes, and just kind of letting them go and get the best movement out of them. So best of luck. We'll have more orders posted in the chat, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you.